Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm your host, Mike Calabrese, and this is our special bonus episode for College Football Week 1. I'm joined by Action Network's own college football insider, Brett McMurphy, for a news and notes edition of our podcast. We're going to run through Week 0, full recap there, tie up some loose ends as we head into college football's real kickoff weekends starting on Thursday. But first, Brett, let's get into the first down clock rules and how it related to the 7 games that we saw over the weekend. Unders scored out 4-3, highly noticeable in the Notre Dame Navy game. So let me just ask you as an observer right away, did you pick up on that differential with the running clock as opposed to, a full game? They only did it in the last 2 minutes of each half.
It did seem different to me. I actually put a poll on Twitter and got over, I think, 20 or 30,000 responses, which I was surprised. And the fans spoke out very clearly. They hate it. 56% said they did not like it. 20% said they did like it. 24% said it's too early to decide. I'm with the majority, Mike. I just don't like it. I like that college football is different. I don't want it to be the NFL. It's becoming the NFL in a number of ways. I don't like that. I like the way that we stop it after every first down. Yeah, it can make for some long games, but basically we had shorter games but more commercials. But ultimately, I guess the guys that crunched the numbers on this showed that there really wasn't that much difference. But perception-wise, to me, it did seem maybe a bigger difference than it actually was on the field.
I agree. I mean, at this point, with 4-3 to the under, there's not a sample size whatsoever, so we have to wait and see. Although I'm targeting games where teams stop the big play and don't necessarily pop the big play themselves. When you see those long sustained drives, as we saw between Notre Dame and Navy, even though Notre Dame scored a touchdown on their first 5 drives of the game still didn't go over. And a big part of that was they averaged almost 8 plays per drive, and they only hit 1 play over 30 yards the entire game. So when I'm looking to try to get an edge before books perfectly calibrate this as it relates to the new timing rules, I think you want to look for those teams that limit the big play. All right, let's get into another game from Saturday, which was USC San Jose State. To me, the main takeaway here is that USC's defense still isn't very good. They gave up nearly 200 yards on the ground. Bear Alexander had some interesting plays where he was, generating pressure, but he only finishes the game with 1 tackle, 0.5 tackles for loss. He was supposed to be the big difference maker. And because last season they were 80th against the run. So you're hoping that you saw an immediate difference in this Alex Grinch defense. I didn't see it. They were 122nd in giving up long plays on the ground. That's runs of 30 yards or more. And they gave up 2 to the Spartans. And I'll give a shout out, being one of the co-hosts of the Group of 5 Deep Dive. San Jose State is not a tin can, at least offensively. They should be a top 50 offense. So I'm not absolutely killing USC from the perspective of giving up 28 points. And one of them was in garbage time, one of those touchdowns. But in general, I was not really blown away with their upgrades on that side of the ball. Whereas their offense, it looks like it's just plug and play. And, that Branch kid looks super dynamic. So they, once again, to me, will be a fun team. But my takeaway from week 1 is maybe not college football playoff caliber. Do you agree with that assessment?
You kind of glossed over. That was a very important touchdown in garbage time, by the way. Since Colin's not on the podcast, I will reference that I was at Mountain West Media Days, and I did talk to Brent Brennan. And yeah, he told me that they were going to be dynamic on offense. They have the player of the year, preseason player of the year quarterback. But he had some concerns defensively. But yeah, Mike, I mean, this shows what USC has had issues with last year. This is why, for my bowl projections, I don't have USC in the college football playoff. Heck, I don't even have them in a New Year's Six game. I think they've got too many issues defensively. We saw that last year at the end of the year with Utah, with what Tulane did. And again, against a San Jose State team, that's some real issues moving forward, especially when you look at the schedule, who they'll play in the Pac-12, and also Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I take what Notre Dame did with a grain of salt. They did what they were supposed to do. They overpowered a Navy team that really couldn't stop the running game. So it's not like I don't think Notre Dame's suddenly a college football playoff team. But as far as USC, yeah, I agree. USC's got some issues defensively. They're going to try to outscore teams. It's going to be like an NBA type game with USC, I think, every week. Team with the ball the last possession is probably going to win.
Now, USC having such, fireworks offensively, they're not going to have any problem selling tickets. Whereas, some smaller schools around the country, they're trying to get creative. The 5-year arc in terms of looking at attendance graphs, they're all going down. People want to be at home. The game day experience at home, for the most part, is just better. You don't have to deal with traffic. You don't have to deal with weather. You can watch, 6, 7 games simultaneously. So a program like Memphis is trying to get ahead of this with, I guess they're calling it a rollover promotion. If you buy a ticket for their opener and they win, you get another ticket to the next game, and so on and so on. First of all, how did this come to play, or come to pass, I should say? And is it a genius idea? Is there any backfire element to this? What is Memphis thinking, and what are you thinking as someone who's seen a lot of promotions over the years in college sports?
Yeah, I think it's a great promotion. I mean, it's $60 for a ticket, and that gets you into the season opener against Bethune-Cookman. And it's that simple. If Memphis wins that game, then you get a free ticket to the next home game, which is Navy. And if they beat Navy, you get a home ticket the next game to Boise. So their home schedule is Bethune, Navy, Boise, Tulane, USF, and SMU. So if they keep winning, you paid $60 for 6 games. That's a pretty good deal. Look, I think it's smart. I think schools are having to do things differently nowadays with everybody wanting to stay at home and watch games on TV. So I give them credit. I actually reached out to some folks at Memphis this morning, but unfortunately I didn't hear back from them. They're curious to see how many tickets they did sell. The bottom line is, they're hoping that not only will these people come back for free, but maybe they'll bring some friends, and also they'll buy some concessions and that sort of things. The immediate response I saw on Twitter was like, this is genius. And a lot of college people were pinging me saying, we need to try this. We need to do this, especially for some of these smaller schools that don't sell out their stadiums, that don't sell out of all their season tickets. I think this is a great promotion, and I think you'll see a lot more schools do this. Obviously, you're not going to see a Georgia or a Clemson or Alabama need to go through this, but for other schools that are looking to increase their fan base, absolutely, I love the idea.
All right, next question for you. This is coming on the heels of you mentioning media days. I know that you were able to ask every single coach around the country who their favorite artist was in a game that you've dubbed the Coach Match, which you can play over at the Action Network. Were the coaches really into it? I'm just interested in terms of, I would imagine some coaches are a little more playful. It's the off season. They don't mind talking about their personal lives, their personal preferences. Did anyone shut you down? They weren't interested in playing?
We'd contacted 133 coaches and or schools. We got answers from 132. Deion Sanders did not answer, unfortunately. He at Pac-12 spring meetings, he was not talking to the media, so he could not get him there. And then he did not attend Pac-12 media days in Las Vegas, where I was at, so I could not contact him there. I went through officials at Colorado, explained what we were doing, gave them several weeks to respond, and ultimately, the answer was, well, he's a pop culture icon. He knows a lot of people. If he picks Snoop Dogg, then, Wiz is mad at him and different things. Ultimately, at the end, we went down to the wire, and I was told he's focused on camp. And I'm like, well, that's why I've been asking you for 3 weeks. But other than that, no, the coaches are, I love doing this. I don't know what, the fans think of it. I love it because you learn about these coaches' personality. And yeah, I had some amazing discussions with a lot of coaches. Kalen DeBoer, he went with Journey, he went old school, but then he pulled out his playlist, and he's going through everybody on his playlist. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, the most passionate fan of his choice, the Allman Brothers, by the way. He's been to their grave. He's been to over 50 concerts. He plays their songs at practices. I mean, it was unreal. I could have talked to him, and he would have continued the conversation for an hour about them. Dave Clawson loves the Talking Heads, which is so funny when you think about Dave Clawson. You don't really kind of think of him as a Talking Heads type guy, but he was unreal. Dave Doran, one of my favorite answers. What's your favorite kind of music? He goes, I have 2 kinds of music I listen to, country and Western. He went with Merle Haggard. So yeah, it's very funny. And then the ultimate chef's kiss, of course, from Lane Kiffin, who went with Taylor Swift. And just to let folks know, I asked him this question 3 or 4 years ago when he was at FAU. So he went with Bon Jovi. So I don't know if he was prisoner of the moment or like Lane, he was playing up to the Twitter crowd. But Yeah, look, I love doing it. And yeah, go on actionnetwork.com or check out my Twitter account at Brett_McMurphy. I have a link to it. We have the complete list of all 132. So you can mock, debate, love, hate, check out all your coaches. But a lot of friends of mine said they're really conflicted because there's coaches on this list that they absolutely hate, but now they find out they have the same musical taste. So now they don't know what to do.
All right, guys, the new college football season has arrived, so our old Saturday viewing habits are finally back. But I want to take a moment to talk to you about a new habit that I'm getting into, which is Caldera Lab Skin Regimen. It's simple. It takes just 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night. You're already in the habit of brushing your teeth, so why not stack another habit right on top of it to make your skincare just as fresh as your pearly whites with Caldera Lab? So there's 3 simple steps here: the clean slate, which is the face wash; the base layer, which is the moisturizer; and the good, which is a night serum that reduces fine lines, dark circles, and puffiness. I also love the Icon Eye Serum. I use it for those under eyes that I just mentioned. And unlike how FIU treats the forward pass, we here at BBOC know skincare is important and doesn't have to be difficult. So getting in the habit of just 1 extra minute in the morning and 1 at night is all you need for better, clearer skin. And just for our audience, we have an exclusive offer, Caldera Lab's best offer anywhere. Just use code BBOC at calderalab.com and get 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code BBOC at calderalab.com. Make unforgettable first impressions that lead to those magic words. You look younger. And get 20% off at calderalab.com with code BBOC. All right, back to the show. We just talked about week 0 being in the books, and what's interesting to me is that you have teams that get that extra bonus game rolling into week 1, so they get to shake off the rust. And I think no team is a better candidate to get that week 0 bump than Hawaii, who threw a scare into Vandy on the road. Some books had this as Stanford -10 in the opener for them against Hawaii playing on the island. That line is now down to Stanford -4. And with good reason. I mean, we wanted to see that year-over-year improvement from Timmy Chang's run-and-shoot offense, and they looked good against an SEC opponent. I know it's SEC in name only, but Braden Shager, 27 for 35, 351 yards, 3 TDs. The defense also had its moments: 3 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. You know, they had some special teams drama there at the end with the onside kicks. They get a late 4th down stop. I think they did everything other than win that game, you know, from a gambling perspective, to see them move up in the power rankings. And now they're taking on a Stanford team that's in game 1 of a new regime. What are your thoughts on this game? You know, it could be classic Pac-12 after dark drama out there in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, I in Vegas, I was able to talk to Timmy Chang also. I mean, you know, last year they were very competitive down the stretch, and I thought they'd be very improved. I actually went over their win total over 3.5. I didn't expect them to beat Vanderbilt. I think they've got a great shot against Stanford. And, you know, talking to Troy Taylor from Stanford also, he obviously has a much different offense than what David Shaw had at Stanford. So how are you able to get those guys to, you know, incorporated into what you want to do? With you don't have the right skill set. And look, there are not very high expectations for Stanford this year. That's an understatement. I really like Hawaii, you know, getting points here. There's actually an angle here that I'm looking at, not only with Hawaii but with 5 other schools. And you know this is a group of 5 guy. I really think so much emphasis is put on the Power 5 and the group of 5 that I think a nice angle to look at is the first week. We've got 6 group of 5 teams playing at home against Power 5 opponents. They're all getting pretty good amount of points, about 2 touchdowns. Those numbers are dropping down. You look at Wyoming, Hawaii, North Texas, UConn, Colorado State, and San Jose State. I would play all of those, just blindly play them all. I think you're going to end up on the right side with most of those because the Power 5s have no incentive to come in there and beat their brains out. It's a no-win situation for those guys. And for the group of 5, this is their chance to prove that they deserve it at a bigger level. And also, by the way, maybe show off. So if they want to get in the portal after the season, they can move on to a better place. But specifically about Hawaii, I like what Hawaii's doing. I like what they did against Vanderbilt. I mean, look, this game is played 10 times. Hawaii wins that game 8 times. They give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. They throw a pick in the end zone after a touchdown got reversed. They went for it, a couple of 4th downs where they had some field goals. So I like Hawaii in this spot. The only issue or pushback I would have on it is so much is made about Hawaii's travel when they go to the States and come back, or vice versa when they go to the States without any rest. And this is a Friday night game, so you've got one less day for preparation. How will the body clocks be? How much will the humidity of Nashville, Tennessee take out of them? We'll have to find out. But yeah, I think it's Hawaii or nothing on the island.
It's also interesting with Stanford trying to remake their offensive identity, unlike a school like Wisconsin, who went from the ground and pound to Phil Longo's, more wide open air raid attack. They were able to go to the portal, get themselves a quarterback, get themselves some receivers, remake their roster in fast order, in short order, I should say. Stanford having the issue of it being very difficult to bring in transfers to academically qualify. I do think it's going to be a multi-year rebuild if they ever get it going under this new coaching staff. So I agree. I think you're going to see some growing pains where Hawaii's already proven it, 60 minutes worth of tape that their offense is functional, can certainly move the football. I don't think you can make an argument that Stanford's defense is going to be more challenging than Vanderbilt's defense. So I agree. I think there's still value over a field goal. So I'll probably play the Bows either on the money line or take the points. You mentioned the opportunity for some of these group of 5 programs to have a showcase game at home, get more visibility, maybe get in the portal, transfer, NIL opportunities. You know who has plenty of NIL opportunities? That would be the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Cal Williams. He is now the Dr. Pepper Fansville spokesman. So can you tell us a little bit about what goes into this? How much is this worth to him? I think he's also a Wendy's pitchman. He seems to be everywhere this offseason. Didn't work out so well for DJU a couple of years ago. Hopefully it goes better for Williams.
Yeah, hopefully it works out for him. I mean, this is only the 3rd year that Fansville has had a current athlete involved in their commercials. And you look at the last 2, DJ and Bryce Young. DJ, the year before he did the commercial, Clemson 10-2, went to the college football playoff, won the semifinal. The following year, 9 wins, Cheez-It Bowl, 2nd in the ACC. Bryce Young, the year before the Fansville ad, 13-2, Bama gets to the college football title game. They won the SEC. The year of the Fansville ad, 11-2, they don't make the playoff, and they finish 2nd in the SEC West. Is there a Fansville curse? We're going to find out. Is it similar to the Madden cover jinx? So far, so good or so bad, I guess. So that's something to keep your eye on. And look, whether he's doing the Fansville ad or not, and we talked about this before the season. Look, he had a great game week 1. I still don't think there's any way that he wins the Heisman, but that's 14 weeks to go in that. But he's battling the Heisman jinx and the Fansville curse. So Godspeed, Caleb Williams.
That'll do it for us here for this special edition of the BBOC podcast presented by BetMGM. As a reminder, we'll be back with 2 more episodes this week. On Wednesday morning, we'll have our Group of 5 deep dive between myself and Mike Iannello, highlighting all the best bets across the Group of 5 conferences. Then again, here in week 1, we'll have our flagship college football betting preview with Stuckey and Colin a day early. It's going to drop on Thursday morning, just in time for all the college football action, which is taking place Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. College football back with a vengeance. Some phenomenal games, particularly that LSU-Florida State game on Sunday. Should be a great way to kick off the season. For Brett McMurphy, I'm Mike Calabrese. This has been the BBOC podcast. Thank you so much for listening.